Welcome, 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 everyone, to the Women's Empower Network. I am so excited to have Liz here with us today. Welcome, Liz.
Hello, Jeannie. Thank you for having me. Super excited too.
Well, I'm excited to share you with the group and learn a little bit more about you. And so if you would tell us a little bit about your story and journey that led you to what you're passionate about today.
Of course. Well, I always love starting with my family because that's the most important thing for me. So I'm a mom of a 21 years old, super amazing son who loves green smoothies. And I have also survived a husband, the same husband for 24 years. Oh my gosh. Even though there has been the times that I have thought, he's better off back in his mom's place. But no, the reality is that today, after overcoming a lot, we are a great team, and I'm super grateful for that. And I had juggled. I used to be an engineer for 22 years in the oil and gas industry over three different continents, not even countries, continents. And but after all of that, I actually being like the super go-getter, strong career woman, and single mom during the week because my husband was working away. I was not taking good care of myself. I was surviving on a lot of coffee, a lot of fast foods, the quick and simple and convenient, quick fixes, right? That we tend to that are so easy to grab. And I was also, one of those women who felt like I could not survive without my nightly glass of wine. And sometimes not just one, but two or three, depending on the mood, depending on the mood, you know? And even though I was actually feeling in my body that there were things that were not all that great, like I was having a lot of digestive issues, my feminine cycles were not cycles anymore and were very disruptive, very painful, very all of the things that they could be for a woman. And also, my energy was not there. I was feeling tired, exhausted all the time. But, I was blaming to, the busyness, the stress, all of those things. Of course, none of those things were helping. And I was also having a lot of skin issues. Like I was struggling with this cystic type of acne all over my face, my chest, my back. And that made me feel super self-conscious, insecure. It was affecting actually my social life because I was literally avoiding, being out there because of that. And anyways, even though my body was like screaming at me, hey, pay attention, I was kind of blind and deaf to those screams until I decided it was time to give my son a sibling. I decided that I didn't want to see my son growing up alone. I come from a family of three brothers and sisters, a large family actually with a lot of, cousins and all of the things. And we moved to a new country and there was no cousins for my son, nobody, right? So I was like, well, I want him to grow up with somebody to like know what that is and experience that. And when I felt like I was ready, my body decided, no, I'm not up for this. And we tried for our own for a couple of years. And then I said, you know what? I was in my 34th, I was 34 years old at the time when a lot of my coworkers were actually starting their families, no problem. And I was like, well, that shouldn't be a problem for me, especially when I know my body can do this. I can do this. I did it before, right? So, but then, I went into the conventional fertility kind of assessments and all of that. And the diagnosis was that my ovaries had aged and prematurely. And I was not going to be able to have any more children on my own.
Wow, that had to be heartbreaking.
It was devastating. It was, well, there has been many things in my life that have, made me like stop and kind of refocus, but that was definitely the one thing that put me on my knees. And, at first I was not connecting anything. I was like, in the mindset of, oh, why me? Bad luck. Maybe it's genetics. Maybe it's, all of the things outside of myself. Have you ever done that?
Yes.
But really, truly, when I found my first mentor, which, it's so beautiful how we get what we need and not necessarily what we want. I was desperate trying to, find alternative health. I didn't like that answer, of course, from the conventional medicine. So I was looking for alternatives. And looking for those alternatives, I actually ran into my first mentor. And she was the first person who said, Liz, if you want to bring a new life into your body, if you want a new life to decide to choose your body to grow and come into this world, that body of yours needs to be like the most sacred, the most balanced, the most harmonious, the most clean, the cleanest. And at the moment, it was none of those things. I was a total mess. I was like this. I was all over the place. And so that was the first person who started asking me, those hard questions of, okay, how have you been eating? Do you drink alcohol? Other than just the typical, do you smoke? Do you do drugs? And right, she was like going deep into asking me about, okay, how is your daily routine? How is your hydration going? Are you actually going or are you pooping? Like that was like the one, what? Of course, now I get it. If my body is not releasing the waste that needs to release on a daily basis, is actually accumulating and recirculating toxins, and I'm actually getting more toxins from the choices I'm making, and try and masking my symptoms with a lot of pharmaceuticals or with wine, right? Like trying to disconnect myself. Of course, my body was not that beautiful, amazing, welcoming home for a new life. And so that was that was hard to take, first
Yeah.
of all. Taking the personal responsibility of, oh my gosh, I created this, you know? Oh my gosh, my daily choices have accumulated to create this reality that I am living today. And that was devastating too. Like that was the second, like
A punch in the
what?
gut. Yeah.
Exactly. But then that same thing was the thing that empowered me to ask myself the next question. Okay, so if my choices took me here, my choices can also take me out of here and create something better for myself.
It's
And not just for
beautiful.
myself, but also for my family. Like I was like what am I? making, right? As a mom, I started questioning, well, my son was having a lot of skin problems, we're having issues with sleeping, and he was 8 years old at the time. And I was like, could this be part of the same problem, just different symptoms? And that is the thing, that we are all different, and we manifest, our body responds differently to kind of the same kind of to the choices that we make. Like, some of us make so similar choices in our lives, but everybody responds differently to those choices.
Right.
And so for me, it was all of those things. Perhaps for my son was, skin rashes and sleep problems. And actually, he was very constipated too. Like, he would go for days without pooping. And I was like, hey, dude, you cannot be like that, right? And then when I look at my husband, his cholesterol levels are high. He's also, pre-diabetic. He has fatty liver. And I'm like, okay, that's when, so that awareness and that taking the personal responsibility was the thing that started me looking around myself and questioning my status quo, and actually starting taking steps to, number one, get the support, number two, get educated, and number three, taking the actual steps, that moving forward, right? And that is literally how I went from being an engineer into being a nutrition coach. Literally, I lived myself the consequences of not taking our health seriously, and not having our priorities in the right order. That is what it comes down to.
It's interesting is we don't know what we don't know, and being an engineer and just so focused and never thinking about that the food could be the issue, our daily habits, our rituals, that our cup of coffees at Starbucks that we have to have. And it's but then, like you said, I mean, it used to bother the heck out of me is my sister was a chocoholic, and she would drink um 2 glasses of vodka at night, and she had no cholesterol problems and no diabetes problems. Me, I don't drink or smoke, and I was pre-diabetic. And I'm like, this is not fair. But yeah, you can't compare because everybody's different.
Exactly, exactly. And it's so hard to know. Like, even my husband, I remember he was so reluctant. He loved he loved everything he was eating at the time, he was doing at the time. He has never been like this exercise, woohoo, go, go kind of a guy. He's more like, he likes moving, but not, super enthusiastic about that. But then he's like, well, first of all, that is why then I decided to focus on working with women, because I feel like we are like these the spearheads, like the guiders and the builders and the putting together of our homes. Even if we don't are the ones that cook, even I have had women telling me, well, but my husband is the one that who cooks. Yeah, but we are the nurturers in our homes. We keep things together and everybody going, aligned, and the family like engaged. And so I feel like we play a huge role on creating, on what values do we want to our families to grow on, even if we are not the ones in the kitchen.
Right.
So I feel like for me it was just not giving up on it, and becoming resourceful. And that challenge, just having that challenge, because not even my son put up that challenge. He was like super happy and chill, and he was up to take to having the drinks, the drink stuff, no problem. Actually, it was my husband that was like, nope, I'd rather, he actually told me once, I'd rather die 20 years earlier than giving up the things that I love. And that was like, that made me really think about it. And he's like, okay, fair enough. That's like we have to live, right? We are nobody. I cannot take away the joy of your life, of anyone's life. But I told him, okay, what about this? What about if for just because of your choices, it's not that you die. Of course, I'm gonna be heartbroken, but how about if you get just so sick and bedridden and you take away from my joy then, right? And your son's joy and everybody around you joy, right? Like, it's also not fair. And so it was a challenge, but the one thing I discovered was how to make it enjoyable. How to make it, and that is the bottom line of it. I feel like that is the big thing for me is helping people to see that and change their mindset, the mindset around healthy being bland, healthy being tasteless, boring, even expensive for some people, time consuming for some people. Like we have all of this pre prejudice, right? Prejudices about what eating, healthily is. And so I changed that healthily for, okay, how about we make it joyful? Instead of thinking about healthy, let's think about joyful. And so that it's sustainable in the long term and you can incorporate it as a lifestyle, as part of your values. And so that is literally what we have come from. And I remember this one night after having a beautiful, joyful uh, dinner together as a family, my husband's numbers had come to normal. No more fatty acid, no more cholesterol, no more, pre-diabetes. And he said to me, thank you for not giving up on me.
Oh,
That was gold. That was gold. So that is like what I tell my clients, just don't give up. Like start with you and just be that beacon of hope in your own home, and start little by little taking the small steps and bringing your family along and you will not regret it.
so tell us a little bit about your practice and how you work with women.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So I guess um I work with women in a little different way than traditional nutritionists, I guess, work in terms of I do not focus, like of course, I do an assessment. We do an assessment together. We identify, your big goals, your big challenges, your preferences. That is a big one for me, your preferences. We create your own roadmap on, okay, we're gonna go from A to B and all of those things. But I meet you where you are. I do not start telling you, stop eating this, stop eating that, don't cut this, cut that. I start in the opposite way. I love talking about adding instead of removing things, adding more of the good stuff and doing it, at a pace that is comfortable for you. And I start with what you like the most. So if you're a person who tells me, I love lasagna, I'm like, okay, let's start with your lasagna. let's start tweaking that lasagna so that we make it better for you, while at the same time enjoyable for you. And so we start tweaking ingredients, we start adding more of stuff that is gonna love you back, not just your taste buds, right? So that, or if you're someone who tells me, I love chocolate, I just can't live without my chocolate. You know what? That is totally fine. The problem is actually not the chocolate itself. The problem is all of the stuff that is added to the chocolate. So I teach you how to create chocolate good stuff for yourself, like things that you can eat that are not gonna spike your blood sugar, that are not gonna add unnecessary calories or, unhealthy fats, that are gonna allow you to enjoy your chocolate in a way that is guilt-free and nutritious for you. And so that is like the bottom line um of feeling good inside and also outside. Like you are so satisfied, mentally. We're triggering all of the things that we have to trigger in your brain, and at the same time all of those things are also doing wonders for every single cell in your body. And so that is like the different approach that I take. Does that make sense?
I love that approach. No, that you add to rather than take away. And I can see over time that it makes it a lot easier to let go of those things because you start feeling better and better and better. That if you eat something that makes you feel bad, you don't really want to do it anymore.
Exactly, exactly. And that's a magic, and it's not really magic. It's just like a more natural way of doing it, right? Just like I love comparing it with, well, that the same way, that is the same way that we can teach children to eat, joyfully and healthfully for them. Just making it fun for them and making it right? Like, what is it? Oh, he loves bananas. Okay, let's explode the love of bananas out of him or her, right? Like, let's make banana pancakes, let's make banana smoothies, let's make and let's start adding some stuff that along with the bananas, that they will start like, this is yummy too. This is fun too. This is, and we start building from it, and it's actually so fun.
I was a little more sneaky about it. My kids love casseroles. And they would, scream at broccoli or zucchini or anything green. So I would chop it up really, really small and I would just stick it in there so they didn't notice it. They didn't know what it was. And they would ask for seconds and thirds. And I'm like, yay, go for it.
Exactly, exactly. Same principle.
Well, this has been really great, and I'll be sure to let everybody know that above the interview, we're going to put how you can get in touch with Liz if you want to work with Liz or want to talk to her and find out more about her practice and what she does. So before we go today, Liz, is there any parting words of wisdom you would like to share?
Well, I woke up this morning with this phrase that I love and I haven't been using for a while, so I'm going to share that here today. And is that if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. And that was true for me for a long time. I was the one woman who was finding all of the great excuses not to take action. I am way too busy. Nobody's gonna like it. I am not a good cook. It's so expensive. All of the things, all of the things. I found them all. And the more I wanted to find, the more I would actually get.
Right?
So it's like when the moment I stopped thinking about all of those things and asking myself, okay, what is one small thing that I could do, I could add to say, let's start with breakfast. Okay, how can I make my breakfast, my family's breakfast, a little better, just a little tiny better? It doesn't have to go, all the way to the other side, just a little tiny better. And that taking those small steps, sometimes we feel it's not going to take us anywhere, but they add up and they actually create momentum and they make you actually making better choices, adding more better choices to it. Like they start compounding and it's so powerful. So, yeah, so we can either make progress or we can make excuses. So my invitation would be go for the progress, go for not keep, fighting for your limitations by finding your resources.
The one thing that keeps coming to mind in this whole conversation is, you've been talking about it like I think of it as like a journey and a lifestyle change. In this quick fix world that we live in, it doesn't work. You could maybe do a diet for a little while and lose the little bit of weight, but as soon as you stop, you're going to go back to your old habits. And so you really didn't change anything. So looking at it as a journey and giving yourself the long-term progress, like you said, making progress in that it adds up. That's really beautiful. I like that a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's the trick, true health. Actually, nothing in life that is great, that is good, comes, overnight. We have to work for it. We have to, make sacrifices. I'm not sugarcoating anything that is saying, oh, this is super easy, super simple. You're going to get it overnight. It's not like that, but we shouldn't be expecting it like that anyways. And that's the way that true health comes to happening. It's not any other way.
Well, and the other thing you said too, that one of the first things that you did was get support. So if you need support, reach out to Liz and talk about where you can start and where you can take this. So thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you for having me. It's been a lovely, as usual, conversation.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.